Welcome, listeners, to So Very Wrong About Games, a board gaming podcast about, you guessed it, board games. I'm here with my good friend Mark, and we're going to be talking about the games we played this week, news, and why it doesn't matter, and then our main review this week, which is Zenith. Mark, how are you doing this week? Wait a second. You're not the right Mark. Yes, this is Mark. Mark from Board Game Barrage. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm a different Mark. This Mark is a Mark with 100 less correct pronunciation, I'm afraid to say, especially when it comes to French words. So
I'm
right,
hoping 100% less French speaking.
That's correct.
That's correct. Perfectly fine. Glad to have you here.
We'll hear more about me.
We'll hear more about you. We'll talk about it in the news section, but we wanted to hear about what you played this week. What did you play this week, Mark?
Yeah, so I finally got a chance to play Bomb Busters. This was the Spiel des Jahres winner from last year. Had not got a chance to play it. I got it as a Christmas gift. I'm not sure if other your listeners out there can sort of empathize. Whenever people get me a board game for a present, they're always sort of concerned that I already have it, and I'm concerned that they're going to give me something that I'm not really super interested in, like a Scrabble Spider-Man or something. But they got me Bomb Busters. I had not played it, did not have a copy myself, and got a chance to get it to the table. Bomb Busters is a cooperative deduction game where you're playing some sort of furry animals that are trying to disarm a bomb. And the way it works is everybody's going to have some number of chits in front of them, numbered from 1 to 12. There are 4 copies of each number. And on your turn, you are going to be, based on some information, some limited information that other players have given you, trying to select one of the chits in front of them that you can't see the number of, point to it, and match it to a number that you have in front of you. So if I have a number 5 wire, these are called wires. If I have a number 5 wire in front of me, and I suspect based on how Walker has sort of indicated things on his board that a certain marker is a 5 wire, I could say, Walker, is this a 5 wire? And if I'm correct, he flips his down, I flip mine down, and we continue on. If I'm wrong, we get one step closer to the bomb exploding and a communal loss. There's also, as you might expect, a red wire that you definitely do not want to snip. And as players sort of start revealing the tiles they have in front of them, and you realize, okay, all 4 of the 4s have been revealed, so nobody can have a 4. And the location of somebody's 4 kind of indicates where their 5 might be, if they have one. That kind of thing is it sort of helps you suss out what tiles people have in front of them. You keep going until everybody has matched up their tiles, and in that case you win, otherwise you lose. There's also some equipment cards that you can use that give you one-time abilities. I was very, very pleasantly surprised by this. I got a chance to play this with gamers and non-gamers alike. It has been a hit with everybody. Folks who are, again, not quote-unquote hobbyist gamers, immediately upon finishing this game, said they were going to try to seek out their own copies, and I can understand why. Had a good time and easy to teach, super fun. There are 66 missions, like levels, that you can unlock. There are boxes that you can open up with, like, I guess, making the game harder. We didn't even crack open into any of them. We got to like the last of the training missions, but again, everybody was having a great time. I would wholeheartedly recommend Bomb Busters.
Yeah, I played a few games of it. I really enjoyed it. And I think it's a great sort of introduction to like Hanabi or that type of game, or even gamers, like big gamers. It'll be an easy way to tell them what the game is like. Just say it's like Hanabi-ish, right? You're sort of,
right.
All everyone's numbers are hidden and you're trying to suss out, who's got what number by,
exactly.
clicking between. I really enjoyed it. And to get back
and
to
that
like
is,
getting gifts as getting
yes.
board games as gifts is I've always wanted to do an actual topic on it, but it's one of those things where it might seem too negative.
Sure.
Because gift giving is a big thing for my partner, and so you always get that awful gift, or your grandmother will give you Clue or something, and you just say, oh great, Clue, I've heard great things about this game. It's like,
that's Bomb Busters, designed by Hayashi and published by Pegasus Spiel.
So I finally got to play Let's Go Japan in real life. I clicked through it on Board Game Arena once, so I didn't really get the feel for what it was all about. I really like the sort of, because I played 2 games this week that utilize the backs of the cards, and that's what you do in Let's Go Japan. There's like this whole drafting system where you're drafting either Tokyo cards or Kyoto cards. One deck is blue and the other one is green. And I love the fact as you slot them into the different days of the week, sort of like creating your itinerary, that you're going to have to get trains to go back and forth between the towns. So you really want to group all the blue ones together and all the pink ones together to try to not to go back and forth. I thought that part was great. You're trying to match up symbols. You're trying to get early symbols to trigger other symbols, and that I think it will play very quickly. I'm not sure how we play it 2-player, and I think that might be the best. I don't know how it would play with more than that. Like the downtime might be a little bit much. I'm not sure. It's fairly simultaneous, but still the scoring at the end would be a lot more painful with more people. But anyway, I did very much enjoy my in-person play of Let's Go to Japan.
I've played this both in person and on BGA, and I think both my plays in person have been, I think, 4-player plays, and it as you suspected, you're exactly correct. Like the actual play of the game is pretty much just as quick as the simultaneous play, but the scoring is a bear when you have 4 players, but it's a bear pretty much when you have 2 players, but we got through it okay. This is a game that I have also enjoyed, although I don't feel myself getting better at it. I've played it now probably about 10 times, and I just feel like I haven't got the grasp of how you get good at it. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing there. It's funny, one time while we were playing this, and I wonder what your experience was in playing, how close your scores were, because the 2 times I've played this in person, scores were really close between all the players, and in fact, in one game, all 4 players finished with the exact same score, and we had to go to like second tiebreaker or something to figure out the winner. I'm sure that's an unusual case, but yeah,
it might very much be, and they have the same sort of, you can dud a card out, like I said, utilizing the back of the card. If you don't, we're gonna talk about this in the main review about the luck of the draw, but at least this one, it sort of like gives you options, much like the review game, where you can just sort of, plan later on. You put this sort of dud card in, and then when it comes up in scoring, you get to draw off the top and hope you get a good card. And if not, you keep it on the dud side. It gives you some things, but not that great, but it's better than nothing, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So that is Let's Go to Japan. Oh, the other thing I want to say quickly is it's almost a shame because on every card there's fluff, and it tells you I've visited Japan because I love that sort of, I went there for 15 days, loved every day of it, but every single card has fluff on it, and you want to take time and read like the little blurbs and history things, and there's just not time. So, and the decks are huge. Yes. So Let's Go Japan. This is designed by Josh Wood and published by AEG.
You're a man after my own heart, because I'm a big fan of a well done color in a card, like that superfluous language. I like when it's done well, so I can definitely appreciate that. I got a chance to play Taj Mahal by little-known designer Reiner Knizia. I'm kidding, of course, but this came up because me and my co-host on the Board Game Barrage podcast, we've been going through our favorite games of all time, and Taj Mahal and other Knizia games have come up, mainly because my co-hosts are huge fans of Taj Mahal, and I've never really clicked with it. I've played it a handful of times, and just for me, it's always been a lesser Knizia, even though I know it's my own failing that's the case, because I know that it's a solid game. So I tried to play it again just a couple days ago. This is my first time playing it with 3. My understanding has always been you want to play Taj Mahal with 5 whenever you can, and every game I've played of it before has been with 5. This time we played with 3. For those unfamiliar with Taj Mahal, it is a push your luck game, mainly, I would say, where you have a hand of cards. Cards are a very, very precious resource in this game. They come in a couple different suits represented by different colors. And on your turn, you are going to play cards of a color down in front of you. Once you've sort of committed to a color for the rest of that round or trick or whatever you want to call it, you can only play that color card. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to have icons. These cards have icons on them, and on your turn, when the turn comes back around to you, if you are currently leading in any of the one of 5 different icons, if you bow out, your cards are discarded, but for every icon, every type of icon that you were winning at the time, you get some benefit. Mainly, it comes in the form of an area control / route building you're trying to do, but also there's a set collection aspect to the game. But the sort of main feature of Taj Mahal is this agonizing choice of when to keep playing these cards that don't really replenish very, very often, and when to bow out and take whatever wins you can get, whatever icons you're leading, just like get something for the fewest number of cards played. So as I mentioned before, I've only played it at 5 because that was was always recommended to me. Played it at 3 this time, and I had a much better time this time. But I think it was because there was much less contesting going on, much less fighting over the different rewards you could get. As you might imagine, if you're playing with 5 players and there are 5 things you're fighting over, it's going to be much more contentious than if you're playing with 3 players and you're fighting over 3 things. And sure enough, I found that I could sort of like limp out of most hands just playing 2 cards or 3 cards at the most and getting something I liked. And I think what my problem has been is just Taj Mahal at 5 players is just too tight, which is unusual for me. Usually I enjoy when a game is at its tightest, at its most excruciating. But for whatever reason, I think maybe because I just haven't fully grokked the best way to play Taj Mahal, I think I enjoy it more at its little more softer, little easier, little less punishing, lower player count. So I think for now, maybe I'll work my way up to 4 players and then hopefully back up to 5. But for now, had a really good time with Taj Mahal at 3, and now I more fully appreciate, not that I didn't ever think it was a good game, but I more fully appreciate how good of a game it is.
I got a very interesting trick-taking game to the table this week. It was a review copy. This is a game, it's called Lone Wolves, and it's a 2-player versus trick-taking game. Like I always said that, Fox in the Forest did a great job of doing a 2-player trick-taking game. Lone Wolves made a good 2-player trick-taking game. It's I don't want to say it's like Smash Up because I hate Smash Up, but it's sort of like Smash Up where you've got the 5 suited lanes in front of you, and when you're leading, you play the suit to the right lane, and the person. No, sorry, that's a lie. I don't want to miss. You're allowed to play to any lane. You play the card to the lane, and your opponent can play their card to any lane, and whoever wins, their card stays face up. The loser flips theirs over to just the 2 side, and when the whole round is over, you're playing 13 cards. You add up who has the most strength in each particular lane, and there is a scoring token in each lane. And every time you lose, wherever you flipped up your card to the low 2 side, there's these tokens in every area. So you get to choose one of those tokens, and they do all sorts of things from, making some cards stronger or letting you flip over these scoring tokens, making the areas that you're winning, worth more points, or areas where you're losing, you can flip it down to make them less points. So there's all these interesting things you can do with the tokens if you're losing. So there's a little bit of, I don't want to say catch up mechanic, but sometimes kind of strategy, because you only get to see one of the tokens at a time. And so you say, well, I know I'm going to lose this, so I'm going to play this losing card here, and that way I can activate that token, which will give me 12 points here instead of 9, and just back and forth like that. And some other interesting things is when one of those lanes is devoid of all the tokens, you put out one of these moon tokens, and you get to put it in any lane you want. It's now going to make that suit the first trump of the game. So you can look at your hand and say, well, I have a bunch of red left. Now this is worth 5 more points, this red lane, and now red is trump, and that will help you in more lanes. And then also that'll happen, trump will change again once another area is for the second time, and then you score it. It's very interesting, very quick to play. When in this plethora of age of tons of trick takers, this is definitely one of the best.
Interesting. Yeah, I was not familiar with this game. I'm just looking it over as you're talking about it. And first of all, the artwork is quite striking. I mean, it's for a game called Lone Wolves, as you might imagine. There's a lot of wolves depicted on it, and they're pretty darn cool looking wolves, I gotta say. But yeah, I like the idea of a 2-player trick taker with this sort of area control thing. I'm sure, again, with so many, as you said, so many trick takers out there, I'm sure people have done types of this game before, but I've never seen something like it myself, and seems really cool.
And to very quickly they do something interesting with the low cards too. The 3 and the 2 of each suit. The 3 lets you flip over one of the tokens so you can see what it is, and the 2 will beat the 7. So you're not always safe with the 7. You got to like sort of play the other cards of the suit, try to fish out, because there are 2 cards I think that are out of the system every round, and so you got to play cards of the suit to try to fish out the 2 if you don't have it, or just gamble that it's one of the cards that are out, and hopefully
right.
you don't get beat. So that is Lone Wolves, designed by Hisashi Nakamura and Anthony Perone, put out by Wonderful World Board Games.
I got a chance to play Subjective, and I think the best way to describe Subjective is just to play a round of it with you, Walker, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's say the category is movies. You're trying to get me to guess a movie. So get a movie in your head. Pick a movie. Don't tell me, but just
got
pick
it.
one.
I got the movie in my head.
Now, I'm going to give you 3 categories. I want you to write down or mentally think of a clue for each category. So let's say one category is places and locations.
All right.
Okay, one category is famous people, and one category is items and objects.
All right.
Okay, so now you've got these 3 in this virtual game we're playing. You've got these 3 placards in front of you. One says places and locations, one says items and objects, one says famous people. I say, Walker, can you flip over the card that says places and locations, and you would show me?
Football field arena.
Football field arena. Okay, so a movie in a football field arena. I'm going to go with, I'm sure you didn't write this, but I'm happy to mention it. This old movie about college football, I'm going to say The Program. I'm sure it's not the program, but I'm guessing The Program. I'm wrong. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to ask you, because I got it wrong, so we're going to keep playing. Please flip over the famous people placard.
Now, could this include the actors in it, or is it just, should it be more generalized than that?
No, okay. It could be actors in it. You're trying to get me to guess it.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Okay, so now we're working here. I'm going to say, Walker, it is The Waterboy.
It is.
Okay, perfect. So this is a perfect example, because whereas most games, the game might end right there, the twist with Subjective that I really like is you keep going at this point. And so now, instead of trying to guess the movie, because obviously I've already gotten it, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to guess the clue that you wrote on all the placards that are still face down. So we still have items and objects, and I'm going to try to guess what clue you would have written to get me to guess The Waterboy. I'm going to say water cooler.
That would be a great guess if I was given a little bit of time, but no, in fact, it was football. I'm sorry.
Okay, that was the other thing I was thinking of, but you get the gist, and so that's how Subjective works.
What I was wondering is, do we both get points? Like, do I want you to be able to guess, or is a team going to take over? Or
no. It's competitive, but you are trying to match, because every match that you make, both the guesser and the clue giver get points. So you have no incentive to try to throw the person off. You're trying to get them to guess every clue. And so I heard about this game. Heard about this twist, this one little thing they made different, where you just keep going after the clue has been guessed, and immediately thought it would work, for game nights, or to open a game night, or for party, like lighter party fare. And sure enough, it's been again a hit with gamers and non-gamers alike. Really easy to teach. Again, I basically taught it in 2 minutes on the podcast. Again, I would really recommend. That is Subjective, designed by Adam Wolf and published by Spin Master.
Yeah, it sounds great. Definitely going to try to pick that up. I've written it down even.
Perfect.
My next game is the streaming game of the week. So if you want to check out this game, it'll be on our YouTube page under the live tab. It was Tabannusi, Builders of Ur. This is another T game by David Spade and Daniele Tascini, published by Board&Dice. And this has like an interesting sort of dice system where there are 5 sort of action spaces that you're going to use during the game, and they all have their own dice pools. And so at the very beginning of the game, you're putting your architect down and a meeple at the action you want to do, and now you're going to pick one of these dice. And there are dice 1 through 6, like a standard die. If there's not a die that you want there, and there's a 6, then a die can represent a die that is not there. So that's how that works. So you pick the die, and it's the action you want to do next. So you take that die, and they're all colored based on the action that they are. And now it's just a normal resource. You put that in your little tableau area, and now you put your architect at your next turn's action, and then you do the action that you're at twice. And it's all about all these different sort of mini games. There's all these different areas that you're trying to build these different buildings. And then there's tracks, because of course in T games, T stands for tracks in these T games you see. And so there's these tracks you try to go up, and then you're going to that's where you're going to get your multiplier on the track. So you're going to, in the 3 main areas, you count how many buildings you are multiplied by where you're on the track. And then there's this boat area as well, where you do it something different and different areas. It was a very interesting game. I played it once years ago when it first came out, and then it sat on the shelf. but we're going to be doing something coming up with the T game, so we decided to get it out, and we're going to play a bunch more of them. I very much enjoyed it back then, enjoyed it again this time. I'm not sure if it's a game that you just want. I think I like, once in a while. It's not one of these ones that I would play over and over again, like some of the others, for sure.
Let me ask you, you mentioned the other T games. Where would this rank among your favorite T games?
I would tell you, Mark, but we're going to do that very soon, coming up, a little spoiler.
Okay.
So I won't spoil that, but
I'll be listening out for that then.
Yeah, it's going to be a good episode coming up. That's Tabannusi, Builders of
I got a chance to play a game from 2005. This is a game called Duplik. Have you heard of this, Walker? Duplik?
It sounds.
It is a draw. It is a drawing game with, unsurprisingly, a little bit of a twist. So the way this works is everybody's going to have a sheet of paper in front of them. They are going to be the drawers, and then one person is going to have a picture, and their job is to describe the picture with a 90-second timer. So they are describing the picture, trying to get everybody to draw what they're describing, but they can't be asked any questions. The drawers cannot ask any questions. They can't ask you to stop. Wait, can you repeat that? Nothing like that. You just have to try to be as clear as possible and as thorough as possible in 90 seconds, because after the time is elapsed, the drawer is going to pull the picture out of this card, this sleeve that's been holding it, and it's going to reveal 10 questions that nobody was aware of, including the describer or the drawers. So it might be say like a picture of a person holding a bat, and it might say, okay, score a point if the bat is in the person's left hand as depicted. But me as the person describing, I might not have described that. I might have been, he's holding a bat. And it sort of leaves it to me, and it leaves it to the drawer to either pay attention and get it when I mention the left hand, or just be fortunate that they were drawing it that way. And it might be like, make sure there are 3 or more baseballs at the person's feet. And again, I might have described it, I might have not, and it's that sort of thing. I find this to be a very divisive game. Some people love the silliness and the franticness of it. Some really did not like it, did not like the pressure of the 90 seconds and having to draw things, or even having to describe things accurately and thoroughly. And so I found the people who liked it really liked it. People who didn't like it really didn't like it. So your mileage may certainly vary. But if you're looking for a unique drawing game, I would say give Duplik a shot. It also, I guess, was also released under the name Portrayal, but both are the same game. So that is Duplik.
Now, are the questions right on with the picture? Like what the question you're going to ask after the people have drawn it, are they on the card?
They are on the card, but the card is sleeved in such a way that you cannot see what the
so you can't see it before. Okay, that's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you have no idea what's going on. That is Duplik / Portrayal. That was designed by William Jacobson and Amanda Kohou and published by a number of companies. I think the one I got was a copy published by Braincog, but it's been published a number of times.
So I got one of my favorite games to the table. This is Clinic Deluxe Edition, designed by Alban Viard and put out by his own sort of studio where he publishes his 500,000 modules for Clinic, called AVStudioGames. Once again, it was with 2 new players, so I had to play with just the base game. I didn't get to play any of the ridiculous number of modules, but that was the sort of the ongoing gag when everyone said, it would be cool if they did it. Oh yeah, there's a module for that. Is there? Yeah, there is that. There's, pillars that you can use to hold up buildings, because it's all about placing your buildings in the right way, because, they have to be in a certain buildings have to be adjacent to each other. And so you can do that it's not actually 3D, but they've done it in a way that you go up multiple floors, building different sort of treatment rooms. And then a big part of the game is parking. They make the joke that it's really not a hospital game, it's a parking game, because you have patients coming in, you have doctors coming in, you have porters coming in, nurses, and each one of these things comes with a car. And so you need to park all these cars. You need to remember to remove cars after you've treated patients. And so it's really the parking game. And then there is this whole timing aspect where the more time you use during the game, the more negative victory points you're going to get. And the time is dictated as you, like all the doctors move from outside of the hospital, and you need to get them to the proper treatment rooms. And then in between turns, you might need to get them to different treatment rooms. You need to get the nurses where they need to be, and you need to get the patients where they need to be. All this takes time, and you track all this on the track, and then the big hit of negative points at the end.
I've had Clinic on my shelf for I think literally like 2 years now, and have not broken it out, which is weird because I've played some other of Alban Viard's games, Tramway, Small City, Town Center. There was a like City Center XL or something like that. Card City XL is the other game, to varying degrees of enjoyment. I really liked Tramways a lot. The other ones maybe not so much, but I have always been sort of a little scared off of getting into the table. One, because I've heard, as you sort of mentioned, that it's like less of a hospital simulator, more of like a weird parking simulator, and B, just it's like it's a massive, pretty, scary looking box, in my opinion. It looks like it's like, it has Clinic. You think it's going to be like this big medical game with like a lot of weird term or like medical terms. It just feels, it's always felt imposing to me. But to hear that you've enjoyed it and that it is, one of your favorite games, despite that whole parking simulator thing, makes me want to break it out.
No, it is. It's a huge bear to teach. It's hard to get to the table, and there's a little bit of setup, but it is
okay.
Fairly standard gameplay. Like there's three different actions that you could choose to take during the turn. And you have these tokens. So you just pick the one you're going to you put it face down, everyone flips it up. You're either building part of your hospital, or you're hiring new staff, or you're admitting patients. And then you go through that 3 times, and then you do some administration stuff, and then you go back to that. Now, the 2 new players, once again, very much enjoyed it, but it does seem to go a little bit longer because it sort of breaks down at the end. Because once you get like your sort of tableau working in your hospital, actually like treating patients, there then begins a demand to get those patients. It's just not, take as many as you like. There's only a certain few that sort of funnel into the system. And if you don't take that action before other people do, or if you don't, you need to get them into your hospital and they've disappeared, you don't get any of that turn. And then that's the only way to make money. You treat patients, they pay you money.
I see.
And that also leads into another funny part about the game. You can sort of take up a whole bunch of patients, and they sort of get worse in your hospital. They start at white, and then they go to yellow, and then they go to orange, and then red, and then they die. But you can bring a whole bunch in at white, and we call it marinating them. They sort of sit in the waiting room, and then every turn they get worse, because the worse they are, the more money you make. And so it leads to some interesting mechanics.
As somebody who is familiar with the American healthcare system, you do not have to explain marinating the patients to me. That is something we do every day around here. So
that's a medical term now. Yes,
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So that is Clinic, the Deluxe Edition. Hopefully next time we'll play some of those modules. Like I said, there's so many that he's made a deck of cards, so you can shuffle this deck and deal out 3 at random. And go with that. He's promised this next expansion that's coming out soon will be his last. A few more modules and a big box, and so I don't have to carry around the 3, lid lift boxes that I have now.
Sure.
So that would be great.
But it's a game that you would still recommend playing. I think I have the standard deluxe version. Like vanilla is fine.
It comes with some modules back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And lastly, for me, we are still continuing with our Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders, our campaign system. This is designed by Tim Elsner and Ben Elsner, put out by Druid City Games. It's this great campaign sort of dungeon crawly game, but it's in this super bright, vibrant, tropical area. It's got the card system that I've already talked about. And that's how you advance your character. You don't have to worry about you don't keep your stats and I got a point of strength, so I'm better now. No, you get new cards into your deck. You're playing them into this 3x3 grid, and then you run the line of where you played the card. And so your cards are getting better. You're getting different cards. It's more interesting. Everyone's still on board. So we've done the second scenario. They're still enjoying it, and I really love this game because the campaign introduces things as you go along. So the first one was like sort of teaching you how your cards worked. The second scenario is now teaching us how our goals work. We didn't have any in the first game. Now we have these goals. You flip up this card, and it gives you these sort of mini quests to do during the game. They feel a little bit like the Gloomhaven ones, where you'd flip up a card and it would be like, be the first to kill a monster, right? But you're not allowed to tell anyone. Luckily in this one, you get to keep it up and everyone gets to see it. You don't get to say, oh, I'd really like to attack that goblin first. Can no one else kill it, please? But you can't say why. Anyway, so, and then next scenario 3 is going to show us how a big boss encounter works. And then in scenario 4 is all about doing like the big market city action. So I like how it slowly introduces you to things. It doesn't throw it all in at once right at the beginning.
I can't say that I was very familiar with Tidal Blades 2. I have played Tidal Blades 1, and although I don't really remember 2. I remember enjoying it. Have you played the original Tidal Blades?
Oh yeah, I still have kept it. It's more,
okay.
It's definitely not a campaign game.
Yeah, right. It's a one-off.
Like it's a dice builder, and you just sort of go around and I don't want to go into the big lore of Tidal Blades. Yeah. I'll be here for an hour, but sure. you go around and
How different of a game in terms of the mechanics is 2 to 1? It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, completely different. They've used a lot of. It's interesting that they've used a lot of the same iconography, but the game is totally different.
Okay, it basically might as well have. It could have like a different name. It's sort of sharing the same art. Basically, it's a whole different thing. Okay, interesting.
Now with that, I will introduce this new segment we're doing. Now that I have these guests, I'm going to call it Reflections, Mark. And it's these 2 questions that I'm going to ask every guest. And this will be the first one because it ties in with campaign games. And it's the quest for the role-playing experience. It's like with the plethora of adventure games and people's reluctance to dive into actual role-playing games. It's like so what this means is like almost constantly 24/7 there is some sort of campaign giant miniature role-playing dungeon crawl game on some sort of crowdfunding service somewhere, and so people are clamoring to get what I feel is the role-playing experience, right? But they just don't want to dive in to that sort of huge system, and maybe they don't feel as though they have the chops to do the role-playing part. They just want a more contained rule book. I move 3 spaces, I roll these dice, I do the thing type of thing.
Yeah. So I would say first of all, I want to just get out my qualifications here. I've never mentioned this on our show, but I'm an old school, relatively, I guess, old school tabletop Dungeons and Dragons player. Back in, I'm a really cool guy now, but back in the day, back in middle school, this will surprise you, I'm sure shock you, that I was able to convince my teachers in middle school, shout out to Miss Yamamoto and Mr. Fellhandler, to let us skip.
Mark, you can use the real names. You don't need to use the role-play names. That's kind of...
We did play an intense campaign taking place in a medieval schoolyard, so I'm happy you've heard of those exploits. But no, I was able to convince these teachers to let us avoid the California sun that we could have had at lunchtime, and instead play Dungeons and Dragons in the classroom, spend extra time in the classroom to play Dungeons and Dragons, and where I led as the dungeon master campaigns over the course of the school year. So, role-playing games were something that were huge to me back in the day. I have since sort of fallen away from that as I've shifted to, board games. But I remember when Gloomhaven came out and seeing all the promise that it had to offer, like a role-playing experience, the character progression, the epic quests that you sort of get in role-playing games. I remember feeling that old, like enjoyment of that sort of experience creep back up, and I was an instant backer for that initial run of Gloomhaven. Then it came, then we got it, and we enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a very, very well-designed game, but I had a lot of trouble with keeping the group together, keeping everybody excited to play the same games. I think there's a common thread with a lot of these games that setup and teardown because there's so many things that they're trying to evoke and so many different characters you're meeting and so many different scenarios that the upkeep, that the setup and upkeep and everything, all that administrative stuff can be quite a bear. And so it's sort of dampened our excitement for it. And also I found that while the board gaming side of things, the clear rules, the clear combat, everything was something that would appeal to all of us. We were less inclined, and this was fine with me, less inclined to like role play in terms of like our characters, like, really inhabit the characters. Although I also obviously get why that is such a huge draw, because it's such a fun part of tabletop role playing games. So I found myself sort of moving away from that type of thing, from the role playing game in a box. However, I recently started really getting into solo games, which was something that I was never into in my board gaming history so far. But in the last year and a half, I've gotten into solo games and have enjoyed them much more than I ever expected. I never thought that I would enjoy a solo game, but playing some of the ones recently, I've really enjoyed. And as a result, I have picked up a couple of the campaign games with the expectation, and only when they're recommended as like a solo only. Like if there's a campaign game that's well reviewed and I'm told that you can play it well solo, I have acquired some of those. I've yet to play them, but for example, I've got Oathsworn that I've heard really good things about, that I'm excited to play. And I think that for me, the way that I'd want to do a role-playing experience, because for me it's more about the character progression and about all those things rather than the actual like role-playing the character at the table. I think for me, the way I want to do it is set it up at the table and sort of play it over the course of, a couple weeks or whatever, where I can sort of just set it up, play it, walk away from it, don't have to worry about breaking it back down or doing, or doing all that stuff, and just sort of play it at my leisure. I get that that's like a privileged position, because a lot of people don't have like an extra table just sitting around where they can do that. But I think that's where I'm at when it comes to role-playing games in the board gaming space.
I can see what you're saying. A lot of hurdles, like trying to get the same people together at the same place at the same time to play the same game is really a reach in sort of like how board games work now. There is very much the churn and the new stuff all the time. Right. And I think it's very hard for these designers to get what I call the Pokemon value right, which is, you need to give them just enough treats to want them to come back, right? So it doesn't feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. It's like you need just enough progression that you stay interested but aren't overpowered. You know what I mean? You want to keep going.
100%.
It stays interesting.
Yeah.
And not overpowered where it's a cakewalk the whole time.
Yeah. And for me, like, my tolerance for that grindiness of campaign games is higher. Like, I can tolerate more of it if it's just myself. Like, if it's me with a bunch of other people, I start feeling bad that I'm wasting their time, and I'm worrying about, like, are they enjoying themselves? But if it's just me, I can deal with a little bit more of that. But yeah, I completely agree with you. But you're from what listening to your podcast, like, you guys tend to sort of get into the role playing aspect of games, even if it's not a campaign game, right? You guys.
Well, for sure, yeah, definitely. We're all ex role players, I believe. At least Mark and I are, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm big into paranoia, and that's how I pretty well started this whole sort of journey. Was at school, someone had put up a sign about role playing, and then that same group evolved into Games Workshop stuff, and then my Games Workshop stuff turned into board game stuff.
Oh, that's great. That's cool. Very cool.
And we're even thinking of, because Tidal Blades, the one that we were just talking about, does have a role-playing system as well.
Oh, okay.
So we're thinking, one of the guys said, he has this system, and I said, but I already told you that I've had this forever, but we'll see. We'll see how it's all scheduling, right? I have so much things to do already. Yeah. So I'll throw in another night of gaming. Why not? Why not?
Right, exactly.
All right. There's another reflection question that's going to come up later. I'm going to try to always sneak these in where it's relevant. And so those are the games that Mark and I played this week. News and why it doesn't matter. Like I said earlier, this is Mark from Board Game Barrage, and I'm very interested in what they're doing right now.
Well, I appreciate you calling out our show right after saying and why it doesn't matter, because I think that's appropriate to us. But we are in the midst of our top 50 board games of all time list. For a couple of years there, we were doing it sort of individually, each of us, doing our own top 50 list. But we've decided to sort of spice things up, try something different. So we are in the midst of doing a combined top 50 list. In fact, I think the last episode will have released shortly before this episode comes out. But the way we're doing it is we are drafting the list. And so one of us will say, for game number 50, say, I think the 50th best game of all time is Taj Mahal. And what the other two hosts can do, me and whoever the other host is, can use vetoes. So we've got vetoes. So we are sort of jockeying and cajoling and negotiating to try to form a top 50 list that speaks to our podcast and the kind of games we like, while trying to get our own favorite games up the list, trying to work them up there, trying to make our co-hosts burn their vetoes. We went in not really being sure how it was going to go. It was sort of like winging it, but our listeners so far have really enjoyed it. It's been really fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of screaming, a lot of groaning. So yeah, it's been a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch up. I am very much behind. Unfortunately, the only time I have time to listen to your content is on my drive to work. Unfortunately, my work is 2 blocks away, so in like little 15-minute increments, I get to listen to something, and I've had this guilty pleasure of this online audiobook, and so that's been taking up all my time lately. And
we don't care when you get there.
Book it is.
We don't care when you get there, as long as you get there. But no, I'm sorry. No, I would like to know which audiobook you're trying to weasel out of it.
I will not say. It's one of those silly books, and I just can't stop listening.
Okay.
All right. So for some news, we have The Crew, Journey to the Ends of the Earth. They have yet another Crew game coming out. I hope it's just not, extra window dressing. I hope they have some interesting hooks that we've never seen before, because like I said, there's so many trick-taking games. You got to think, okay, well, what else can they do with this? Let's hope that it's something exciting. I've talked about Set a Watch a lot. It's a very interesting game that I love. Giant campfire, you have to keep it going while all these monsters stream in. All the characters roll different dice depending on what character it is. They could be rolling d8s or d10s, and you assign these dice to skills or directly to the monsters. Like you usually use your low dice to trigger skills, because it doesn't matter what dice do it, and then the big dice, because it's 1-to-1 damage. It's like, oh, this d8 or d10 rolled an 8, I can apply 8 damage to that monster. Boom. And so you have these different characters. One always has to take a camping action, which is unfortunate when you're playing with like the full. It's not bad when you're playing 2 players, because you each have 2 characters. So one of your characters is the camp and you go along. But if you're playing with 4, one person does the camp action and then everybody else is doing the fun, we're fighting monster now action while they sit back and wait. But anyway, new campaign for them, new expansion. It is called Set a Watch Winterlands, and at the same time, they have a digital version, and there's a demo on Steam already. So if you're ever interested in what Set a Watch offers, I've already played the demo. It does a great job of showing you the game, super smooth, and I thought I was going to hate multi-handing, like all 4 characters, but the game made it great. Other crowdfunding news, we have Arborea. I meant to look to make sure I still have it. I'm hoping it's still up there somewhere. We played it a bunch when it first came in, and I still enjoyed it. I think Mark soured on it a bit, but they have yet another expansion coming out for that. It is called Arborea Corruption. The crowdfunding is called the Expanded Universe, because not only are they going to have this expansion, they're also going to have a mini game called Arborea Rewild, which is a game that already exists in print and play form, and they're going to have an Arborea art and lore book. So if you want more Arborea, which is the psychedelically colored crazy game where your workers move along this conveyor belt, well, not an actual conveyor belt, but they slide along and then they go down these. Anyway, you have to play it to understand. It's a great little game.
I've played Arborea and another game by Garcia, Barcelona and have enjoyed both of those. So I'm excited for this.
All right, so that is the news.
Wait,
Walker,
wait.
Yes, sorry,
I felt terrible. I felt terrible going into the segment because I did not have any news to share, but I can share breaking news. This is literally coming over the wire. Cole Worley and Kyle Ferrin have left Later Games. They're founding their own Leader Games. Sorry, they've left Leader Games to found a new studio. Apparently, they're taking the Oath game and Arcs with them. And Root is staying with Leader Games. This is breaking news. So that's just on the wire.
That's kind of crazy. That would probably mean Root is kind of, they already have a ton of expansions. I don't know if I would insert many more anyway, but yeah, that is crazy. It's interesting to see where those games go. Yeah. So that is the up-to-date news and why it sometimes does matter. Now, before we move on, though, this is a great place to put in the second Reflections question. All right. So this one is about content creator fatigue. This is about looking at a crowdfunding campaign, scrolling down and just seeing the usual videos go by and I feel people are tired of listening to them. It's all just hype. It's all just saying this is the best game. This is by the best designer. This combines, all of these top tier games all into one. It's better than them all. And I feel as though people may have stopped watching these videos. They might just watch them, not necessarily turning the audio off, but just not listening just to see what the game looks like on the table, stuff like that. Not really listening to, their input and more. And I think they're maybe hopefully doing more research and reading the rules and deciding on their own whether or not it is a game that they want instead of listening to the usual suspects. Yeah, I think that this has become the case. I do definitely feel it's hard to tell from our vantage point being, people who are playing a bunch of games and talking about games on a weekly basis. So I'm always wary of that. If my view is how close it is to the accurate position of things that are going on. But it seems to me, talking to our listeners on our Discord or just talking to people about board games in general, that there is like a oversaturation and a fatigue when it comes to these big kickstarting games and game founding games. And I think that is a good thing. Whenever I generally have not been a big Kickstarter guy, even at its high points, I've not been a Kickstarter guy. And what always occurs to me, the thing I always think about when I start feeling myself get hyped up, like, I'll see a video or I'll hear about something and I'll start in my mind imagining how incredible the game could be. And I feel myself starting getting on that FOMO train and getting, really excited. And where can I plunk down my money? I always think back to the hype around Blood Rage, which was a fantastic game on Kickstarter, and it turned out to be a fantastic game. It was like basically as good of a Kickstarter as you could get in terms of quality of the game, and yet, like for people who are going, spending the, going nuts at the time and doing everything they could and feeling terrible when they couldn't get the game right when it came out. I just think about where I am today and where we are all today. And you could play, if you want Blood Rage, you can get Blood Rage. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And, you can even play it on BGA if you want. And, so I would always encourage people to, if you're feeling really, really excited about a game, but you're not sure. Look, if you're sure that it's a game that you're going to like, or if you have the disposable income to take a flyer, by all means, go ahead. But if you're not sure about it, then just wait a little bit. I mean, it's going to be there. There are other games to play, and don't feel like you're out of the zeitgeist if you don't get to play it as soon as it comes out. I mean, don't let that FOMO sort of like put you in a bad place. So, listen to So Very Wrong About Games. Listen to the podcast that you like. Listen to people who have similar tastes to you, and let them tell you if it's a good game or not. And then if you trust them, pay less when it, later on when you can get it without that, incredible surcharge. Yeah, because there are a plethora of online retailers now that will carry the Kickstarter pledge.
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
if after you definitely made a mistake and didn't get it, it will be there. And there's
Agreed.
also a ton of people who get the full Kickstarter pledge and decide they don't want it anymore. And you can see that when it fulfills, there's always a big sudden wave of people dumping it when it first comes out.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so now we will move on to our main review, which is Zenith by Playpunk Games, designed by Gregory Grand and Matthew Roussel. And these two are the same designers that are just coming off what they call, it's, the same sort of, I wasn't hot on it, but Castle Combo last year is the game that they both designed together. And now they put out this new game called Zenith. Now, a very unhelpful summary of Zenith is you are trying to gain influence on 5 planets. And how you do this is that this sort of like they have the 5 discs on this board in the center, and there's 4 spaces on either side, and it's a push-pull. They're going back and forth. You're playing cards, and you're trying to get these discs over to your side, and there are 3 different ways to win, and whoever achieves one of these victory points will be the winner. That's the quick 2 cents on Zenith.
Yeah, I've got a chance to play Zenith a couple times myself recently, both in person and on BGA. I was apprehensive when I first sat down to play it because, in general, I'm not a big 2-player game fan, especially when games are, zero sum where you're pushing and pulling. I've played Battle Line in the past, so I was like, why do I need Battle Line with a bunch of extra cards? And just was a little, again, just generally apprehensive. And I have been very, very pleasantly surprised, personally, by my plays of Zenith. It comes with this large deck of cards that you're going to have in your hand, and you're playing the cards come in the 5 suits of the 5 different colored planets. And you're going to play, say, the red card, I guess it's to the Mars side, and every card will definitely at least pull the planet 1 space towards you, but it's also going to have some other power that you can use. In addition to that, when you play a card to a planet, it makes all subsequent cards 1 cost cheaper. So if I play 3 cards to Mars and the 4th card costs 6 normally, it would now cost just 3. Because of the 3 discount for placing them. In addition, there are 2 sort of different other ways you could play cards. One is to get this token, which allows you to increase your hand size. Normally the hand size was 4. You can acquire the token to make it 5, and then if you do that same action again, it flips the token over. Now you have 6 cards in hand. That's one other thing you can do. Then another way you can use the cards are by discarding them to move up these tech tracks. In order to move up the tech track, you need to spend what's called, I think, Zenithium or something like that, some other currency in the game. And as you move up the tech track, you get the benefit of that level and all levels you've passed. So, little inside secret for the way I play Zenith is I really like moving up the tech track because I think it gets quite powerful when you move up to the 5th and final level. You get that power, which is quite strong, and you get every power or every benefit that you hit along the way, and that can swing things. Again, at least that's the way I like to play it. Not that I'm any big time Zenith expert, but yeah, I found the 3 different ways to play cards to be fun. Like I generally, again, also don't go for games that are really sort of lean on the combo-tastic aspect of their mechanisms. But I found, for whatever reason, in Zenith, like it always felt good. It didn't feel like silly or shallow or whatever. It felt like, okay, I'm really building up this, Terra set of cards, and I've got this 10 blue card, and man, this is a really powerful card, and for my opponent, it would cost them 10, which is a ton, but luckily for me, I've got now like 6 blue cards in front of me, and this is only going to cost me 4, and that just felt really, really good. So I've enjoyed it personally.
Yeah, and like you said, even if you have those 10 cards or 9 cards and you don't have a big discount, those are the ones that you can play off to the side as either the leadership or the tech. And because what Zenith has is this very interesting sort of income issue, because every time you play a card to the middle, like to one of the lanes, you have to pay for it. It all has a cost, and that's pretty well how they balance the cards, right? The more powerful the card, the more it's going to cost. And you're going to find yourself out of money. And so this is sometimes the problem. You're not getting those money cards in because a lot of the cards give you money, So you find that when you're getting these cards, if you don't get the right money cards, then you're going to be running out of money. And so I found in my games, if you don't get the cards, then you're not going to win. And I found it seems to be very luck based, in my opinion. I played 6 games just yesterday. 2 of those 6 games were very odd, where I got the 3 ways to win is either to get 4 of the same color. No, sorry, 3 of the same color, 4 different, or 5 of any. And in 2 of those 6 games I played, I got all 5 discs before my opponent got even 1. And so the first 3 games I played, I looked solely on just what I was doing. I tried, if there was a disc going towards my opponent, I never wasted time trying to pull it back, because I felt so that was just a waste. It's like even more, so I have to get it to the center and then down my row. I focused on the ones that were either at the center or closest to me, and then move those. And I really felt as though when you talked about the technology working out, I really felt as though they did a great job of making that the timer, because in one of the games, it was really just this constant back and forth. Like I would finally get it down 3, then he'd pull it back to the middle, and no one was getting anywhere for the longest time. And then I just slowly worked up that tech track.
Right.
And it's a way just for the game to finally end. I think they did a great job of, if the cards come out that it's going to be a stalemate, then if someone slowly works on that tech track, they're going to definitely win the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I like that aspect of it, where if you find yourself a little stuck because you're out of money or you're not getting the card draw, if you have enough Zenithium to just push up that tech a little bit, it might not help you right now, but it really is a good investment for the future. So I enjoyed that. Man, I've got to say though, if you're playing against folks and you're getting 5 different tokens and they're getting 0, I think you're playing against some really bad Zenith players, because
I did not understand. Maybe, that's why it was getting me a little frustrated, like, because it's like,
sure,
okay, I'm going to talk about this game, and then I'm getting these like so lopsided victories. I'm just like, this is just...
sure. Maybe you're a natural. Maybe you're like
I don't think
like
so.
A prodigy.
I really don't.
Zenith prodigy.
But I want to talk a little bit more about that leadership token. Like the other thing you do, you play. There's 3 factions in the game. There's animals, robots, and humans. And there's 3, like we talked about the tech track, 3 different ways you go up the tech track. And if you do it for the leadership, it's a little bit of like, I have no money cards and I'm out of money, and you got to hope that you have a human card, because that's the bonus you get if you play a human card. You get the leadership token and you get some money. I believe the animals get you the xanthium, I think, and then the robots might get you some cards. I always forget what they do, but they'll give you a little bit of bonus plus the leadership token. But what the actual interesting part is, a lot of the cards allow you, that they'll say, if you give this leadership token back to your opponent, then you get this big benefit. And I just love that sort of, okay, well, I've got these cards and they're great, but I don't have the leadership token. So it's this like multi-step process. Okay, I gotta get that I gotta have to try to hold it. And it's like, now that I have it, I gotta play this card now, because I might not have that leadership token later. And it's the same it does the same a little bit with money as well. It's like, give yourself a whole bunch of money and your opponent gets a little bit. Those are all right, but I really like that, passing the leadership token, taking that hit of not having it anymore, but getting a nice benefit.
Yeah, I agree that there is definitely like some luck involved when it comes to the card draw. You can mitigate that by, as you mentioned, like getting the leadership token and making your card draw a little larger. But sometimes you are just stuck with cards that you can't play because you're out of money. I think you can mitigate that by trying to burn cards on leadership, or burn cards moving up the tech track. And often the tech track will give you money. Sometimes it's not enough, and sometimes it costs too much Zenithium. But in my experience, and certainly I've had games where I just had a bad card draw and there was not really anything I could get out of it. But for the most part, and one of the reasons why I've enjoyed the game so much is I have felt like when things were bad in one respect, I was able to do enough to pivot where I was able to get back on track, maybe in a way that I wasn't expecting. Maybe I early in the game, I thought, okay, I'm going to win this by getting 3 of the same color because I just got some good cards. And then suddenly I don't have enough money to play those cards, and I pivot to tech, and all of a sudden I'm trying to win on tech, which is a way that maybe initially I wasn't expecting. So I enjoy the tactile nature of that, where I think that you can pivot in a lot of cases to a strategy that you maybe weren't expecting early on.
'Tis true. Now, the iconography, of which there is a ton, and it does come with a helpful sheet. Unfortunately, the sheet usually just tells you what one icon does. Like with this icon, you'll draw a card off the top of the deck and add it to the right lane, and now you'll get discounts on that lane from now on. But then on the actual cards, they combine that with other symbols, and how exactly they interact isn't exactly, easy to figure out. It's great on Board Game Arena because you just mouse over the card and it tells you exactly how it works. Unfortunately, when you're playing in real, there's a lot of times you're like holding the game up, you're trying to figure out how the cards work. So a lot of iconography, not so bad for people who play a lot of games, but I feel as though, with new players, it'll be quite a hassle.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think if there's one negative that is pretty undisputed, and your mileage again may vary here because you may be able to internalize these symbols quicker than I think most people, but for most people, I think the symbology is going to be a stumbling block when it comes to the physical copies. There are, as everything Walker said is true, there's also, I think, some icons that are similar, and you may think, oh, is this a force your opponent to discard the card, or is this the icon that brings their card to my side? So there's some nuance there with some of the symbology.
I don't
yeah,
remember.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly. 100%. So yeah, that happened a bunch. It obviously all that is taken care of in BGA, but if you're looking for the physical copy, that's something to definitely be wary of.
Yeah, but the setup's not terrible either. It's you put out the boards, and you put out the 5 planets, one big deck of cards. Everyone draws from the same deck, and every time I play this, I had this, Veil of Eternity feel. I'm just like, why am I not playing Veil of Eternity? It's like none of the mechanics are the same, but it's just the same overall vibe where you're drafting these cards, you're creating this tableau, interesting creatures or people you're making these connections with, all the different colors. I just felt the sort of interaction with the drafting of the board at the beginning of each turn was a little bit more interesting in Veil of Eternity than it is in Zenith.
Yeah, I get that. I think with Veil of Eternity, there's that combo feeling with Veil too, where you're trying to get creatures that work together well to unlock good combos. And I think you feel, at least for me, I think the heights with Veil of Eternity, when you really have been able to get yourself in a really, really good combo, that can feel better than anything with Zenith for sure. So those heights are probably higher, but. I think the thing I appreciate with Zenith is I think it's a little more user friendly. Maybe I think it's a little simpler to teach, a little more straightforward. The push pull is a little clear. I think both games are wonderful productions, but I think Zenith is just a lovely. I mean, it's really bright, very colorful, very vibrant. It just feels like almost a premium sort of level game, I think. So I was really happy with the physical production of it too. But I totally agree that it does give off Veil of Eternity vibe. So if you like that, I think at least give this one a look for sure.
Yeah, and the art's great. Very interesting. Like a plethora. Like I said, there's the 3 factions. So you got all these robots, all these interesting sort of anamorphic animals with, science fiction, and the humans like Dirty Dan, all these great characters.
Right.
And, their name also sometimes reflects what they do. Like Dirty Dan will make the other player discard cards or steal some of their money.
Sure. Yeah,
it's a lot of these silly things.
Yeah, I agree.
It does have a 4-player mode, but it really just seems like 2 people playing half a game. It's like you can both play to the center lane, but the person on the right can only play to those 3 lanes. Person on the left 3 lanes, and so in some ways it felt interesting because there's this mechanism where when you take the leadership action, you get to pass a card, and it did a weird thing because most team games, right, you go back and forth, but in this one, both players on the same team play one after the other. So you'd think it's okay, well, you can rush down a lane, but like I said, you can't play on the same lane. So that cuts that down. So what you can do is it's like I have this great card that will make him win that lane, and I can't play to it. So I'll take the leadership action. That'll allow me to pass him that card, and then he can play it. So there's a little bit of that, but I really feel as though it just shines at 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a little bit of people talk about playing it 4-player, and it's been generally positive. But I'm 100% with you that I would prefer. I don't think I'd ever consider this really a 4-player game. Like if I had 4 people, if I had 3 other people over, I would pick any number of other games rather than try this with 4. But again, something to check out, I guess, if that's something you're thinking of.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think it's all good.
All right, so that's Zenith. I mostly picked this up because it ended up on the lot of, best of 2025 lists, and it was a game that I had not even heard of, never mind tried. So I picked up a copy, wanted to try it, not really seen it. I'm glad I played it a few times. I'm glad it's on Board Game Arena. It's probably going to replace games like Can't Stop for that game I have, running while I'm doing work. But other than that, I don't think it's going to make it to the table again.
Well, we are currently playing a game of this on BGA, and I promise all your listeners, this is my solemn promise to everyone listening, that Walker will not beat me 5-0. There is no way that will happen.
That is true. It is not possible. All right. Once again, Mark, I want to thank you very much. For those who don't know, this is the second recording of this particular episode, so thank you for trudging through a second time.
You got it.
And I'll talk to you soon.
I feel bad for all listeners because the first recording we got really, really spicy. So
it was.
I feel bad that was. Yeah, it was lost.
I'm sort of glad it was remote because that when I tried to punch you and you weren't I hit the monitor and I had to get a new monitor. It was very weird.
Yeah. Right. But this one was pretty good, I think. So thank you so much for having me. I am, as anyone knows, a huge fan of both you and Mark. So this was, again, an honor to be on the show. You guys do great stuff. I'll be a listener forever. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Everyone check out the notes. I'm going to have a link to Board Game Barrage website. Definitely check out their show. It is the one board game content that I listen to regularly. And thank you everyone for listening. I'll see everyone next week. Peace!
You've been listening to So Very Wrong About Games, a board gaming podcast about board games produced by Michael Walker. You can find all our information at SoWrongGames.com. Special thanks to What Does It Eat for allowing us to use their most excellent song, FOS, as our intro. You can find them at WhatDoesItEat.com. We hope to see you again soon, and as always, try to be right, but remember, you're so very wrong.